No one knows what the future holds, but if a new house is in your future, I can help from a safe distance. I'm Nick Acosta, your downtown expert, and I'm hosting safe and sanitary open houses. Nothing is different except for temperature checks at the door and masks are required. But it still smells like there are fresh baked cookies in the oven. So come on by one of my safe and sanitary open houses, and I'll say welcome home from 6 feet away.
This is Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast with your host, Nicholas Acosta. Nick sits down with guests to talk about real estate and how it works. Reach him at downtown.expert on Facebook and Instagram, or his website, www.downtown.expert, or call or text him at 407-508-8809. Enjoy the episode.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nicholas Acosta, your host of the podcast, Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast. Joining you live from St. Petersburg, Florida. I've got Bryan on the line here with us with Proxy Financial. Bryan, good afternoon, and thank you for taking my invitation to be on.
You bet. Hello, everybody. It's great to be on, Nick.
Awesome. So, yeah, Bryan, wanted to just full disclosure to everybody that Bryan has been helping me personally with my financial future. I saw that the funds were deposited in my account and today, I believe. It came out of my other bank account. So I'm really excited to get started on this venture. So let's, for our guests listening today, just wanted to find out, why is it important, like myself, to invest in my future as well as have an emergency fund, so to speak, in case things were to arise? Yeah,
absolutely. We like to reference a proverb that's used a lot around the world, Nick. The most famous one that I like is the German version, which says that a boat that doesn't have a port, a destination port, any wind will do, right? And we have that in an African version. I've heard a Native American version too. So the importance of having a plan is so that you know where you want to go. Of course, we're talking about your life, right, Nick? You don't know exactly how you want to retire. You're just getting started, right?
Right.
With all the activities, all the great stuff going on. And you don't really know exactly what your life looks like 30 years from now. But if you don't start planning and you don't start organizing the components to help you get there, you're never going to get there, right? And so that's what one of the tools that we talked about, that we started with, which is a very good place to start for people without a plan, is an emergency savings, right? And just the concept, really quick, I know financial advisors can be very boring at times, which I honestly, I'm flattered when people say that, because I prefer to be looked at like that rather than the stock jockey, right? The person that you're calling like, hey, you want hot stocks, right? Tips on what's hot on Wall Street at the moment. That's not what we do. It's very boring, very methodical, very systematic, because again, we're helping families and people around the world too. That's something we can talk about later. Reach that goal, right? Whatever it is, we help them establish the goal and get there. And so the emergency savings, really quickly, is an amount of money that's set aside. And when you have something like an emergency that is never planned, and it never comes knocking on the door saying like, hey, next Tuesday, your car is going to break down and you're going to have to spend $2,000 at the mechanic. Life doesn't do that for us, right? It doesn't send an invite. And so what happens is, I want to say 40% of Americans have no emergency savings, no cushion. And I like the picture of a cushion, because you have that 10, 15, 20, $100,000, whatever your financial plan dictates, you're going to have an emergency savings that acts as a cushion. That car broke down, you spend the $2,000, it comes out of that cushion. The next paycheck, the next pay period, you fill it back up, and it doesn't rearrange your life, because a lot of people, they don't have that cushion. They have $500 in the savings account and they need to spend $2,000 on the mechanic. Poof, that's depleted. And then they have to spend on credit card and rack up debt and all this stuff that honestly, it doesn't help your plan.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would say the word for me wouldn't be boring for this stuff, because I mean, I do get every time I have a chat with you for my own personal agenda. Um, but I've also been an insurance adjuster. I'm a real estate broker now, and a lot of people would say that what I do is boring too, but it's because it's methodical, and but it's still very exciting, especially. It's not really boring, those listening out there, because when you can see the picture like Bryan has done for me over there at Proxy Financial, what you can accomplish, then it gets very exciting and it's very informative. So I would say that in my personal opinion. So the next thing I was going to ask you, so like myself, who's a real estate broker, and others that are real estate brokers or real estate agents, we're a commission-based industry. Obviously, we don't get paid unless the deal closes. The deal could fall through, or something could happen that could make the deal not happen, and we don't get paid. So would you say the Proxy Financial, would you guys be able to put up a plan together for somebody like myself, well, besides myself as well, that needs a plan for those emergencies? For instance, if we didn't get closings in a month or something like that, not that's our goal. Obviously, life happens, but besides the emergency fund, what other options you guys have available to set money aside in case we don't get paid 1 month or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that emergency savings serves for that as well, right? So the picture I painted, we use a lot of metaphors and a lot of analogies as financial advisors, because sometimes what we're talking about is very theoretical and very conceptual. So we bring it to life with examples, and those of our clients that have done that. And so the example there is like a person that receives a salary. Every month the money comes in and they set, X percent, 10, 20% aside, and it goes to savings. And so with that cushion, once you get to a certain point, you want to invest for the long term and maybe not invest in short term, stable stuff that are going to preserve value. And when you need them, the money is there, right? So if a person lives off of variable income, that even has to be even bigger. So instead of the cushion being 3 to 6 months, we recommend that it is 6 to 12. Again, we're talking about ranges because each case is a different case, right? There are people that have variable income, but they're part of a network and there's constantly somebody sending business over, and so they can kind of count on at least 6 months of at a time money coming in. Well, then set aside 6 months for that emergency savings, right? And if you don't close, if business doesn't close for whatever reason, you have that money set aside. And again, you're not tapping into debt or credit cards, which have outrageous interest rates, nothing that you can consistently get in the markets, right? We could talk about the rate differences there in a second. But somebody that is a lot, starting out as a realtor, I know it's tough, and I know that it's not easy, and folks that are realtors listening out there are going to say, like, this guy's crazy, telling me to set 12 months aside of income of bills, right? So if you pay $2,000 a month in bills, what I'm saying is put $24,000 aside. Granted, like Nick, another thing that we do in our profession is there's also a journey, there's also a discovery, and there's a learning curve that we understand, and we walk alongside the client, right? And so it's pointless for me to give you a bunch of rules and say have $24,000 set aside when you're starting out as a young realtor, and then just walk away. That's not good advice, right? Person needs to understand how to build that. Maybe you're taking 10% of your income, and that's $200. Set that aside, set it on automatic, and it will grow itself. It will be reinvested. And that is going to grow slowly, but it's going to grow and get to your 24,000, right? So I'm not saying overnight, stop everything you do, stop eating and put your money in your emergency savings, but do it in a way, but have that target. Because a lot of times what people lack is an objective target. They say like, oh man, I'm so bad at savings, right? When I'm at a cocktail party and they say like, oh, you're a financial advisor. Oh man, I'm terrible at savings, right? They don't know what that means. They don't know what number are they trying to get to? And that's what we do, right? In our profession, we translate theoretical concepts about money, which is a really tough subject. People talk about their love life before they talk about money. Money is a taboo for human beings, and I think it will always be, unless there's unlimited wealth in the world being distributed, in which case that changes a lot of stuff. But money is a taboo. It's hard to grasp sometimes. And another part that's really hard for people, Nick, is that they are emotionally attached to something, right? And in that, to get to that something, money is involved. So it might not be that they love money, right? That might not be the case, but they love, this little investment that they've made, or they love the car, but it's so expensive, it's bleeding their budget. It's just not a great deal for their overall financial situation. And we, financial advisors that are emotionally unattached, can say, this isn't helping your plan, it's actually hurting it. Why don't you get rid of it? And then the client's usually like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
No, I completely agree with that. So, for instance, so let's go into this next topic here. So I'm self-employed, or I own a brokerage. Are there any things available, like a 401k, for a self-employed person like myself? I know a lot of people think you have to work for a big corporation to get a 401k, but is that the case or not?
That's true. So we're past that initial step, and I love the way you're conducting this conversation, where it's step by step, what we discussed, and you start with your emergency savings, and that way, out of the blue, something comes, it will be absorbed in that emergency savings. The deal doesn't close for 6 months. You use that, use it. Don't feel bad. Use it, and then later you're going to replenish it. Great. That's bucket number one. Bucket number two is long-term stuff. And so there's two certainties in our human life: death and taxes, right? And as what we've heard so far today, taxes are going to get worse in America. And we'll see what's approved in Washington. The proposal is that it goes up. And with death, right, it could be unexpected. So you have to plan for that, right? But also there's the slowing down. Every human being, as you get older, with a few exceptions out there, there's always an exception. Somebody raises, hey, my dad worked till he was 98, right? That's great, but that's not the average person. And so when you have to slow down, you have to have money coming from somewhere. And I like to tell clients and people that we of all walks of life that we talk to, that the formula for money is very simple. Money in, money out, what you make and what you spend, and then what's left is savings. And then that savings has to grow. There's no magic, right? And it grows according to your comfort level. If you think that cryptocurrencies are cool, that's the next wave of investments, that's the future, then great, put your money in cryptos. But you have to have the profile for it. Your significant other, the people that are involved in your financial decisions in your life, right? It's the risk tolerance is what we call it. And so you can set money aside in that emergency savings in its savings account, and it's growing at a very small rate. At a certain point, keep putting money into that is not effective. You need to take money out of there and putting it into something that we call retirement accounts. Now, the 401k is a classic one. People that work at big corporations, it's a given, it's part of the benefits package, right? A couple of paradigms that I want to shatter here today. We're going to make waves, Nick. 401k is not only for big corporations. It's a set of rules. It's actually the rule number 401, item K of the IRS tax code, that says that if you put money in there from your paycheck, you can get a deduction either on your payroll or on the expenses of your company, right? So if we have created at Proxy, we've created solo 401ks for one realtor with, that sells homes, and they have one 401k that they have a company under which they receive their commissions, and that company has created a 401k for that person, right? That's one idea, but I wouldn't start with that because it's expensive. It costs about $10,000, just to throw out a number so that people know what to expect. for you to create a 401k. And what's the cost? Well, there's a form that goes to the IRS. There's planning involved, right? Because why are you doing it? You can't start and stop it at any moment, right? You have certain rules that you have to abide by. If you have other people plugged into that company, let's say a secretary or a staff member, an administrative assistant, you have to pay them benefits too, right? So it's something that you have to work on carefully. That's why there's a cost. Another thing that we use, and usually we use for entrepreneurs right out of the gate, is called the Simplified Employer Pension Individual Retirement Account. And like everything in America, we love acronyms. That is the SEP IRA, right? So if anybody's ever heard of an IRA, there are lots of flavors and types of IRAs. Proxy is an RIA, and I say that all day long, so I get them all mixed up. But the entrepreneur has an IRA specifically for 1099 or K1 that they can contribute money into, and the minimums are a lot larger than typical IRAs, which we hear about in mainstream media and Forbes or Yahoo Finance or something like that. You'll see that it's $6,000 a year. For the entrepreneur, the person that receives money via 1099 or a K1 distribution, they can put up to $57,000, right? Up to, they don't have to put the maximum. And it's 25% of what you made all the way up to that maximum, that ceiling, right? So if you made, let's simplify it, right? If you made $100,000 as 1099 as a realtor last year, and you haven't filed your taxes yet, you can put $25,000 into a SEP IRA. It reduces your taxes from 100,000 to 75. Now you're going to pay taxes on 75 instead of 100, tax savings. And then that 25 goes into an IRA, which can be invested in thousands of things. And then it grows tax free, right? So tax deferred is a better term to put. So your 25 is invested and it goes to 30. And then that 30 is reinvested, it goes to 40. You're not paying taxes on that. Those long-term capital gains that are supposed to go up, that was announced in Washington today, you're not going to be affected by that until 30 years down the line, right? Okay. That's a smart way. It's a smarter way of saving for the long term, because you reduce your taxes. You don't pay taxes on every movement it goes up, and you're very flexible. That's another thing that I think is very important to mention, because the 401k has all those rules and filings and reports you got to create. The SEP IRA is a deposit. This year was good. I can put 25,000 in. Again, it's a hypothetical, right? You made 100,000, and your contribution can be 25, but you look at your bank account and there's just 10 in the bank account. All right, you put 5. That's okay. And then you can navigate that way over the years, contributing what you want, whatever makes sense. And again, please, if you're listening to this and you're Googling these things, talk to an accountant before, talk to your financial advisor before you make any decisions, because it has a true, you put money in, it's hard to take it out and all that stuff. It has to be done with care.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And that makes me, from my own personal thing, we're going to have to talk sometime in our next meeting about the SEP IRA again, because something I'd like to put some money aside when I get the money I get in every month to put toward retirement, especially the appeal of being able to, have a little bit of a break on your taxes for having an investment going like that for retirement. All right, Bryan. So and by the way, to mention the reason that I was following this order is this is what Bryan over at Proxy Financial has taught me. So that's probably why I'm reiterating in the order that you have instilled in my brain so far. So I'm learning from you guys really well. So, so just one more thing before we got a little bit more time left. One other question I had for you, for the listeners. All right, so we got to that point where the SEP IRA. Is there anything, just to let people know, like the emergency fund, is the rate of interest made on that, is that something better than a traditional bank, or no, or is it the same?
Yeah, so rates of return, right? Let me attack that question. Great question. Let me attack it in a broader sense. So how does that work, right? So we as financial advisors, we have access to everything. Everything? Yes, everything. $100 trillion of debt money that's floating around in the world via banks, right? Never, if anything sticks, folks, never send money to a financial advisor. Send it to your account, which the advisor can come in and move the investments. Okay. Safety first. um, so we have access to $100 trillion of fixed income. What does fixed income mean? It means that you're going to get a fixed amount of rate, a fixed amount of money back every month or every quarter or every year. And your money is going to be very stable. It's the most conservative investments that you can have. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the stocks, right? And then within stocks, you have very stable things like Walmart and Procter and Gamble and Starbucks and stuff that are American staples is what we call them. Stuff that rain or snow, people will go out, pandemic or not, they need toilet paper, right, and food. And so these things grow along with the economy, with inflation, that kind of stuff. But there's also the other spectrum of stocks, which is smart startups, IPOs, initial public offerings. We had Airbnb the other day launch its IPO, and other stuff that we've been hearing about. Stuff like Tesla, which is a very innovative company or an innovation-driven company. Providers of services to self-driving cars or solar batteries for solar applications, right? Stuff that very high-end, innovative companies or companies working on vaccinations for SARS, which is one of the variations of coronavirus. This company was working on a vaccination since 2011. Since the first scare that we had in China, their stock is, they have a stock on the stock exchange, Regeneron, and their stock went up 250% in January, February last year, at the beginning of the pandemic, when China was in chaos. The pandemic was just starting. Investors were pouring money into this stock because that they worked on exactly the kind of solution the world was going to need, which is very different than investing in General Mills, right, or Ford. And so you need to your investments need to align to your objectives. The way we always paint the picture here, Proxy, is your wealth, your picture today, and where you want to go, your objectives, right? And then all we have to do is make a line. Oops, well, the mirror effect is twisting my brain. Right? Where you are today and where you want to go. And it's very easy to find the investments. You are young. This is a retirement account, and the objectives for this account are long term. Like 20 years down the line, we're going to start to maybe use the money. We don't know yet. Let it grow, and you tolerate that. Your profile allows you. Let the money grow. So we put it into what's called growth stocks, stocks that bring the innovation, that don't pay dividends. They take the money at the end of the quarter and they plow it back into the business so it can grow. So we go from, again, to recap really quickly, we go from treasuries, which are fixed income, things that are the risk-free rate of the world today, are the U.S. treasuries, all the way to these stocks that are bringing innovation and growth and different things to people's lives. Where do you sit on that spectrum? What is your objective, and how much risk can you stomach? Like, will you sleep well at night, Nick, knowing that your money is, it could, it's in things that could grow a lot, or it might take time. They're very volatile. They go up a lot, then they drop, they go up. So it really depends on individual objectives, individual plan, right? An individual plan. And then we match an investment to where you want to get. And typically, yes, it is better than a bank CD, for example. I'm talking very general terms here. Why? Because as a financial advisor, we can go in there and pick one little thing. And if you have an account at big bank ABC, they have their set of CDs and money markets and savings rates that they can offer. It's theirs, right? And we, as financial advisors, we go to the market and we find what's best to match the client's objectives. So in essence, a long answer, right? Hopefully an eye opener for folks, a mini class of how things work on our side of the fence, right? We don't just look at say like, oh, I think this is the next Amazon. Let me plow my client's money in and see what happens. It's not how. That's why it's boring. Go with the method, with the systematic approach, and then in general, we can find stuff that matches. It might not even be bigger than the banks. That might not be what your plan dictates. But in general, we're able to find interesting things out there in the market.
Oh, very awesome information, Bryan. So what I do with all my guests, and sometimes they find this question is a tough one, but maybe you will or maybe you won't. I guess it could relate to your financial planning world. What's a positive thing you want to share with the audience? And it can be financial related or personal related, whatever you choose.
Sure. A very positive thing is we were talking to a client recently that owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS. They have a nice salary. They both work, so both spouses work. And they were very worried, right? They were like, you know what? When we asked them, like, how did you end up racking up so much debt in taxes? All you have to do is file your taxes. They're like, to be honest, I don't know. I ignored the letters, and then I started being afraid to open the letters, and it just compounded, and it's out of control. A situation that so many Americans find themselves in, that's debt, out of control debt, and they're afraid, they're emotionally like bound by these letters coming in or emails, and they're like, I'm not going to open it, just ignore it and hope it goes away. We were able to design a plan for that family that gets them out of debt. They will be debt free and sleeping better at night in a couple of years. Not overnight. It's not something that you shake a wand and there you go. It's happiness in a can. It takes grit, hard work, discipline. That's where we come in. We're unemotionally attached to those letters, right? We're on the video with them. Open that letter. Open the next one. Let's do it. I need to know. I'm a financial advisor. I need to put it on a spreadsheet, calculate out the interest and all that. So give me the information. Give it to me. Just consider it as a dead letter with data. And it is possible for you to sleep better at night, for you to know that when you're 30 years from now, Nick, I hate to break it to you, but you're going to be older and you're not going to be able to run around between Tampa and Orlando as much. It's going to come. Hopefully you'll be doing it far, into 30 years from now. But there comes a day when you got to slow down. And then people, when it gets to that point, they're like, they're shocked, right? They're like, oh my God, what do I do now? You are able to make a plan, and we are able to help you stick to that plan. When one of the areas that is most complicated for the human being, still to this date, 2021, we're all still struggling with this money thing, and
Right.
We're able to help you. It is possible for you to streamline that, unravel it, all of the mumbled, it's all jumbled in your brain. You can unravel it, have a clean slate, and sleep well at night. It is possible. That to me, that's my answer to your question.
No, couldn't put it better than Bryan. That's awesome. Thank you again for joining me today as a guest and giving us words of advice to everybody. I know I'm starting to sleep better ever since we started working together over there at Proxy Financial. Yep, right. All right, Bryan. Well, thank you again for joining us on Home to All, the all-inclusive real estate podcast. And you have a wonderful weekend coming up, and I'll talk to you later. Sounds good.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for having us.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today, and we'll see you later. And I'll be back again next week with Mike Tinsetic over there at Blanchard Insurance. And Frank will be on the show with us for part 2, talking about commercial liabilities. You guys have a good day. Take care.
This has been Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast. Find Nick on Facebook and Instagram at downtown.expert, and also his website, www.downtown.expert, or call or text him at 407-508-8809. Thanks for listening.
Don't spend hours or days looking for your new home. Let a downtown Central Florida expert guide you. I'm Nicholas Acosta, and I'm here to welcome you home. Being a Florida native, I know how exciting, stylish, and convenient the downtown lifestyle can be. From the nightlife scene in the heart of downtown to the natural beauty of Florida. I'm Nicholas Acosta, and I'm here to welcome you home.